So we'll move to item number 3, to fees and fines. And alrighty, this came before the board about 4 weeks ago on fees and fines. Talked to a couple of the trustees, and so far what I have is it looks like everything's acceptable except for one thing. What we're going to do is leave those stickers for passengers. Leave those at the current rate at $30. However, anything else which is commercial, it would all raise by $5. So your motorcycles, motorbikes, vehicles, passenger automobiles, those will all remain at the $30. Only when it comes to recreational vehicles, buses, trucks, so you're looking at your larger vehicles. Now, is there any other questions about any of the fines and fees that were presented to the board? I talked to a couple of trustees about the little stickers, but they didn't have any problems with any of the other fines and fees. So we'll get this through the attorney and have them drop the ordinances for these. I hope they have it ready for us by Tuesday night. Again, we will not touch passenger vehicles, so it won't affect those residents. It will affect more businesses when it comes to the rates. And again, it's only $5 for those stickers. Now, the other thing you have before you, did you pass that out yet? The 2 ordinances? Okay. Okay, so you have before you, in fact, I'm going to be sending this to the ordinance review committee. You have 2 more, we're going to look at fines and fees that I'm presenting to the ordinance review committee, and I'm letting the board know. One, if you want to call it the red box fee, because we don't have a red box machine in Sauk Village, but there will be a license that will be required for that. So what you have before you is an ordinance that's will be going to the zoning or to the ordinance review committee to for that. Okay. We have a red box at Walgreens. No. So that's what you have before you, an ordinance for that, and that's why it's kind of nicknamed the red box. It's probably just going to be the video. Yeah, you have that one right there, and then you have a second one before you, which is a fleet ordinance, which would affect businesses who have fleets of vehicles.
That one looks like this, right? 611.
That's it right there.
Fleet licenses.
So that one's going to the ordinance review committee, but I want to make sure the board had time to review it. Do you have any questions, Trustee Myers? Anything you want to add? Or? Yeah, no. Both of them. Yep. Okay. Yes.
So this is other than like builder stickers. This is something entirely different. Like this would affect YRC, ABF.
YRC, ABF, anyone with a fleet of vehicles. So.
That a base.
In Sauk Village.
Okay, because I know in the industrial park, these Rangers over there, they're not base, but their trucks are there, but they do freight on that area, so that.
That's, again, that's something to take a look at, something for the owner's review. They may have something they want added. Again, these are just fines and fees we're presenting to the board and to the owner's review committee.
Basically, it says down how back to how basically, it's just that now, so like I said, that if the registration comes back and their house here in South Delivery, they must get a little sticker. That's that's how all these years ago they got away, because all their stuff comes from Ohio. And some of the other ones over there in industrial park now, they're based here. And some of the rigs down here on Torrance Avenue is based here. So, yeah, I will have many look at it and let you know what I'll be looking at, and go back to the committee.
All right. Any other questions on the plan review? Yeah. All right, so I see Valerie and Bruce are here. So we'll move back to item number 2. And this is insurance update for No True. It is Bruce, correct?
That is correct.
I kind of want to call you Bill, but that's your boss, right? There are any copies?
They should have copies already.
Okay.
There was something that was right this year, 2014, 2015, executive insurance renewal.
I think we asked that you talk a little close to the mic because so the residents can hear.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. We are here to present the insurance renewal numbers for the 327, 14 through 15 policy year. What we did this year was we marketed your insurance coverages very heavily to the entire world that does insurance for Cook County / Will County. And in the packet, I provided you with a synopsis of what carriers were able to do for your program. We did get several declinations due to prior year's losses, and that's pursuant to the loss information that we shared with you last week, so that you can see what they were basing their information on. However, your carrier that we switched you to last year, which is ACE, was very happy with the way your program is progressing. So it has a lot to do with what you're doing with the safety programming and your risk management overall. And as a result, he was comfortable with issuing renewal terms. So that is what we have this year. We have an overall 6% reduction. It involves all of your coverages that are shown on the chart. And so what's shown on your chart is that you have your liability coverages with ACE, and it shows what your self-insured retention level is. We were able to maintain that and not go to a higher level. Some carriers that we approached were willing to write it for you. However, they wanted to do it at a much higher, what we call an attachment point, which would put the village at a severe disadvantage financially. So it's something that when you get to that point where we have managed losses down to the level where we expect, which is $50,000 for a series of years, we need at least 3 good clean ones to really move. But once you get to that point where you're looking at, do I want to raise or lower, that's down the road a piece. So that was something that was off the table, but at least we are happy to learn that there are carriers out there that want to look at you as you grow in your risk management program. So for right now, ACE is the carrier. They also offered some umbrella terms. You do not have an umbrella policy currently, so we were able to give you some numbers. ACE does not offer that. It's Markel that offered that, but that you can see that. Also, Chubb is your property insurance carrier, and they were willing to offer terms as well. We have done some work on properties, which they were happy to see that we're looking at maintenance, we're looking at preventative things, we're looking at what we need to do from a long-range standpoint to protect the interests of the village from a property standpoint, and they are very interested in seeing that. So if we go...
Another thing was with regard to the stated, last year, we were marketing property, and Chubb, the carrier that handles the property for the village, was unwilling to offer flood coverage for 3 of the properties. We were able to work with Chubb and the loss control team, take a look at the flood mapping, and confirm that the village isn't in any threat of having large floods in the flood zone. So Chubb was willing to write the coverage without any change to the policy, except a slight deduction.
So if we go back to the first page quickly, we'll go through what the highlights of the program are. And okay, previous to this past year, you were on a program which was disjointed. You had several carriers. For instance, you had Philadelphia, you had Bridge, you had a number of carriers. And our concern was at that time that there might have been some gaps because you had one carrier for auto, one carrier for liability, another carrier for property, and wasn't quite sure who was doing what when it would come down to a loss occurring. So we wanted to make it a more cohesive program, and that's why we put it with ACE last year. And ACE gave the better terms. ACE also gave the better terms again this year. So now we've eliminated those liability gaps, and we're able to make sure that you have consistent coverage. The other issue was in the areas of employment practices liability. We were working on that so that the carrier ACE is now comfortable with what direction you're going to approach those kinds of claims. The issue that we still are faced with is the amount of limit that we have. We are still working to increase that. We still feel that what the village carries right now and what we have on the table for you again is something that really needs to be looked at. So we make sure that you have the pricing so that you can look at and see what you want to do with your budget and when you can start to factor that into the budget. As far as claims management goes, we placed you with the third-party administrator last year. That company is working out well. There's a few things that we talked about last week that we need to do as far as planning so that we can make that work more efficiently for you. And it has a lot to do with finances, so that's what they do. They manage the claims for the village, and we have been fortunate that our number of claims is substantially down. So they are looking forward to meeting with us to do that kind of work. Pollution liability is something that we did not have in the past, and we now have, and we've had it for the past year. So that's an enhancement to your program. And then as well as the marketplace still being somewhat of a very hard market. Underwriters are looking intently at what you're doing, what your losses are, and they are underwriting to the T. So even though we give them the great story about where you're going, some underwriters, like I said, are still not quite comfortable that you're there yet, and we're continuing to put that narrative out about what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Give a brief explanation on the hard market for the constituents that are here. The insurance industry for like the last maybe 5 to 6 years has seen rates go up. So when we say a hard market, that means that the market is more aggressive as far as getting a rate from the insurers. Rates are going up. When we say soft market, that means that the rates are going down and there are more options for the insurers. So it's a hard market. It's tougher to place coverage and get it as cheaply as we have in the past. So just wanted to make that explanation.
On the second page of your summary, it tells you what your total program costs are versus what we're paying last year, so you see the reduction here. It still does not include any umbrella, so that's up to you all to decide if you would like. Once again, we recommend it, being that we're in Cook County.
So this is the third year we've had it.
Yes.
So just so the board realizes, we're looking at coverage of $286,076. Last year, our coverage cost us $318,206. And the previous year was $332,258.
Yes.
So we've seen 3 good years of reductions because our insurance.
And to that point, Mayor, last year you included in a liability assessment. So we are still factoring that into what we did last year and saying you're still trending down. That's where we want to go. Okay, we talked about the retention that you have now, and that you have options for an umbrella at a $2 million and a $5 million limit. So you have pricing for both. So we can turn from that page. This is the page that illustrates what your program costs, how they are broken out by line of coverage. And for ACE, you will see the 2% decrease in the premium. The property, the only thing I want to bring out about that is that we did look at the values for certain buildings in the village this year, and we determined that some were underinsured. So we adjusted the values for the buildings that needed to be adjusted. We also looked at your mobile equipment, and we got more accurate numbers this year for those. So that did go about. So overall, those two things were like a 46% increase in values. However, that did not reflect on the increase in the premium. The increase was only at 15%, and so those two things, were not commensurate. And I'm very happy to see that. So now I feel more comfortable with the limits that you have for the village. And if something were to happen at one of those particular locations that we adjusted the value, you're not going to be short any money that would, be paid out. And as far as the crime, last year we did a short-term policy. We had crime only for a portion of the year. That came later. And then this year, it's for a full annual term. And of course, that underwriter is interested to see what you're doing with your financials, your audited postings and things like that. They're very concerned, very interested in knowing. So I'll just keep in touch on that matter. The pollution was also increase this year, but not due to anything else, because you had a short-term policy last year for pollution as well. So pollution and crime were not full 12 months last year. Now they are. And then we're not doing the police assessment. That is completed. That project has been done. And additional recommendations, we'll be doing a follow-up to see if we've completed everything that you all agreed to do. As far as risk management, that is what the cost is for your loss control programming and your safety, and for overall looking at financials and how we are still managing our money at the village. And then USNC is your third-party administrator for your claims. They only do the liability. You have workers' compensation with the Illinois Public Risk Fund. That is not a part of this program. That renews in January, and you've already taken care of that. And that is on a direct bill basis as well. So this shows you what your comparison pricing was and the 6% decrease. At the bottom is where the excess coverage or the umbrella coverage, those are the prices. And if you decide as a committee to have the board approve any additional coverage, you would just add this to the totals. And I'm available to answer any questions about that as well. Yes, sir? Oh, yes, that's part of it.
Okay, I have two questions. The first question, for our vehicles, what is the deductible? I didn't see that on there.
Your deductible for your vehicles is in the chart. Okay, there's the little short column that says ACE, auto physical damage, on the chart, right? Next to it's the very first one, it's the smaller. Okay, that's auto physical damage is collision and comprehensive coverage. And you have the full limit, and it is a $25,000 deductible for that self-insured retention.
$25,000 per vehicle, per incident?
Mm-hmm. It's designed for more catastrophic things because you typically don't have the loss frequency there, so you wouldn't want to pay the premium for something that you don't really need to be using. It's a reverse psychology on that. You don't pay as much for something that you're really not using. Instead, you being the insurance company with this self-insured retention, you're the insurance company of Sauk Village, you say, I'm going to keep that money that I would have paid out premium to have a lower deductible.
So in other words, they would pay anything over $25,000. So I can buy a car.
Yeah, I mean,
Really, why would I fix, that's what I'm asking, you know, if something happens in the transmission or something fell out because of lack or whatever the case, or they got hit, they won't cover, they will cover, we had to pay the first $25,000.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And that was, it was their price on it, how much it would be if we just paid $500 or $1,000 out the book.
You really don't want to go 500 or 1,000. That's more like personal lines. For commercial, you want to start around the 5 or 10 on a self-insured retention program. Primarily because you're trying to wade above what's going on underneath at the personal primary levels with 0 deductibles or $1,000 deductible, so that you're not paying for every little fender bender or crumble to the car. Those are the kinds of things that you can manage in-house, and so you don't want to pay the premium out. Now, you always have the option to say, well, what would be the premium for a 5 or 10,000? I can show that. I can get that for you.
And the next question, could you explain to me, okay, 2 MM, is that million?
Yes, sir. Million.
Oh, just million?
Just million.
Oh, okay,
And
I thought M, I thought 2, okay, so MM would just
It's
be
just
million.
million.
So
Yeah.
that would be an increase of 21,000 if we wanted to go to $2 million. Right now, we're at 1 million, correct?
You don't have an umbrella right now. You have nothing over your 4.9 mil.
Now, would the umbrella wouldn't cover the cars either way.
Yeah, not for physical damage. With a vehicle, whatever the value of the damages are and the vehicle cost is, that's what you get. For liability, yes, an umbrella goes over that. So say, for instance, one of our drivers hits someone and their damages exceed our limit that we have right now, 4.9. And they make a demand for, say, $10 million. That's where your umbrella comes in to help you. It gives you that additional limit so that you're not coming out of the village's money, out of your general fund, to pay for something that insurance could have otherwise paid. That's only for liability. Auto physical damage is just like property. You're only going to get what the thing is worth. That's it. You're not going to get any more. It's not made to over indemnify you or make you more than whole. They just get you back to what you had.
And is there a minimum for, well, I guess litigation would be something different that would be anything that you guys would cover. In other words, if someone sues us, we have to pay the first $50,000. That's nothing that you have to do.
That is factored into this. So defense costs are within, yes. That is factored into the program.
Right, and we would pay the first 50. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Let's go back to the self-insured numbers. How have they changed since last year? Have you seen?
The self-insured retentions?
Right, like you talked about 29,000. Was it different last year?
No,
So it's the same as
it's
it
the
was
same.
last year?
Yes, your retention levels are the same.
So the self-insured levels have not changed in this policy?
No.
Right. Just want to make sure that the board realizes this is not something different. This is what was passed last year.
Yeah. The only difference is on the flood for one location, which we can talk about that separately, but for one location only, that has a higher deductible because it is considered in a flood zone. But other than that, the rest of the properties are at the same deductible. But there's no other change in your deductible or your self-insured retention structure.
Trustee Marshall.
The flood zone is all based off the new county flood maps and everything, even the flood map. They did an entire restructuring of the entire South Suburban last year. All right, that's good.
We even had Chubb come out. We looked at the Sanborn maps. We looked at everything. So we wanted them to assure us that they were looking at the same maps we were looking at. And then that's pretty much it. This page just gives you the marketing synopsis for your own information, so that you'll know due diligence was done for the village to obtain the most competitive quotes available.
All right. Any other questions for Valerie or Bruce? All right, because we need to vote on this next Tuesday night. All right, you have any questions, let myself or Lauren know, or reach out and see if we can get the answers for you. In case you have any problems sleeping tonight, you want to go back through and read it again, if a question pops up. So, thank you very much. All right. Move down to item number 4. This is something that I'm going to start adding to every single committee meeting. This is cost savings initiative. What we're looking for the board to do is bring your ideas to the table and present it to the board. If you come across anything that you think of any cost saving initiatives, this is where we're all open up to the board. Trustee Martin? I bet you're, yes. I'm good? You first.
I've been in contact with a new company that we got
I've been in contact with our new company with one of the collecting our stuff, and they gave a pretty good rundown of the things they was involved with. One of the things is they are already tied in with the state controller, and I spoke to the gentleman. They're getting everything ready to set us up with that, where we would contact the controller to definitely go after the people that owes us quite a bit of money. There's roughly about, Sherry and I figured out about $180-some thousand out there that owes to this in debt, and that's only for about 6. That goes back for last year's stuff. One of the other avenues they asked if we wanted to, and I spoke to you briefly about it, is there another avenue they can go after is if the people that owes the money to us, like you one, well, there's a couple of them, owes us $20,000 in fines. There's another avenue they can go petition, Village of Sauk petition the state of Illinois Secretary of State to have a driving privilege pool until he makes arrangements for the Village of Sauk for the payment of that penalty owed. And I did instruct him to send us some literature and give it to the board and everything. And we'd like to research that too. That's one of them. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything like to present to the board tonight?
This is something that I've been talking to each of the board members about, so it's nothing that no one's ever heard about. What I do in my professional life is I drive a commercial motor vehicle. I haul heavy, wide loads, and what I'm trying to do is work with the board and the police chief and to move forward and actually have an actual program implemented into the police department in truck enforcement. From what I understand, we have 2 truck enforcement officers. We already have them. Again, I have to talk with the chief about putting them in place and implementing a program. We are not home rule, so we cannot do a lot of things that other municipalities can do when they come to truck enforcement, but the revenue is out there. Will it dig us out of the hole completely? I don't think so, but it will help extremely with some of our budgetary constraints. I've worked with, or been dealing with different municipalities and talking with their truck enforcement officers, their chiefs, and the money's out there. All we have to do is implement the program. The chief is aware of it, and all they have to do is move forward on it. I will be working with the village board and the mayor to bring something to the table, a little bit more concrete with numbers, but I think we really all need to look forward to this. It has been brought to my attention, some people say truck enforcement, it's a bad idea because you're going to shoo away businesses. I would say no, it's not going to shoo away businesses at all. every single common carrier that comes down Sauk Trail does not deliver freight to Sauk Village, nor 394. They're driving through our community, and if they're in violation, our officers, if certified, can pull these guys down for overweight, overaxle. They got a mud flap missing. We have to find a way that we can find them and generate the revenue for that. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, so I look forward to these trustees jumping on, taking advantage of these. And again, I'm looking for the other trustees to come up with cost initiatives and cost savings ideas. Again, this will be something that you will take and something that you can come back and show the village residents how much you saved this community. So reaching out, I thank Trustee Myers and Trustee Morton for stepping up to the plate on the first couple. And I'm looking forward to hearing what the rest of the trustees have going forward. Trustee Myers, do you have something else?
I had the honor of going to the Dyer board meeting today, and I learned that this year they're going to shut down Route 30 at the railroad tracks and put the viaduct in. And that means that everything's going to come through Sauk Village. They're either coming out with 394 or going to all the way up to Sauk Trail to get on 30, or they come down Torrance Avenue, go around, make the loop. So we're going to have an awful lot of traffic coming through there. And the president reported that a problem will take up to 6 months to get that overpass done, if it's done by then. So it's something that we're going to have to encounter for a while, and put the residents in the entire town. It's going to be pretty tight there for a while.
Last I heard, I think it's going to be more longer than 6 months, unless they expedite some pretty much a lot of work. But the way it looks is they're going to be doing half of that at a time. So traffic, you're correct. Traffic will still be able to flow through there slowly, which it does also mean that we'll see additional traffic comes down Sauk Trail. Stager Road is expecting additional traffic, and Glenwood Lansing Road over in that area somewhere. Where they're talking about the way people are going to flow around. So again, I get updates through IDOT to South Bend mayors and managers. This is a major improvement, expansion, whatever you want to call it, for Route 30. It's also inside Glenwood. So there's a lot of excitement about getting a project like this, especially on the south side. I think since this year.
The question I brought up, Mary, and the board, is that those big trucks on the trail pack those heck off the roads. All right, even though that was told me they're rated for them, but you get the semis for there. Is there any way maybe our engineer can contact, and I guess in the end I put it up.
But that's one reason why they redid Sauk Trail 2 years ago, in anticipation for this major.
I don't know if they're good on Sauk Trail, like it was deep enough to take your van. So, clarify it.
No, I understand.
But, I mean, can we get the whole, people, see if there's any type of revenue they can get, that we can get from it to repair the roads, or?
That's not a road. Sauk Trail's not. Sauk Trail is a state road. I always get mixed up. State, county goes this way. Yeah. So it's not Sauk Village Road. Straight. But again, we are, I didn't make it to the transportation meeting the other day, but we were, Sauk Village was on there to have additional roads to be qualified for state funds for, I think we put in for Cornell, 223rd Street. We've already had, if you remember last year, we had 223rd Street from Torrance all the way to Berman, or almost to Berman, was repaved. We put in for the rest of Cornell, going all the way from 223rd Street from Cornell all the way over. Because we know that as traffic gets heavy coming down Sauk Trail, people will probably go off on Cornell and try to bypass going on 223rd Street. So we have put in for additional funds for those roads. And it just went for transportation board. I don't know. Tom, we get that today? It was today. So they gave the okay?
Yes.
Okay, so that's some good work, good news. Well, thank you very much. All right. All right. And that leads right into road projects. I'm from Baxter and Woodward. He's our engineer for tips. Got some good news for us tonight. Oh, come on, Mike. Have to speak close.
Hi, good evening. We have two agreements. One is a local agency agreement in the village, and the other one's an engineering agreement with our firm. Back in, for the Logistics Center Drive project, there was no map of the community. Everyone's familiar with the project over at Tip 3. Back in '04, the village received a grant from Congress and Jackson's office to construct the road. And the grant was in amount of $600,000. The whole project at the time was estimated $3 or more, so it wasn't going to cover the full amount of the project. So at the time, the village decided to use funds for engineering. So we did phase 1 engineering with federal aid funds. That's format. And then that was approved in, I believe, like '06 and '07. We had just completed the former Jacobson building at WSI.
Can't hear him back here.
Oh,
You
sorry.
just put it like close to you. You must have to eat it.
We were completed the WSI building, or the former Jacobson building. At the time, the village wanted to move forward with the Logistics Center Drive project, and they could not wait for the IDOT to approve the federal aid agreement. It takes 6 to 12 months. So they elected to fund it locally with the TIP 3 funds, and that is an exhibit to the that is a agreement. That was not executed IDOT until we paid that through TIP funds. About in late 12, the Federal Highway Administration decided to take back, take it back. After that, the project kind of stalled out. The building stopped about then. So the project's been on hold for some years. And then in late 12, the FHWA notified all communities that had active grants that they were taking the money back, and because they wanted to use it for other purposes. And IDOT stepped in on the village's behalf and took the balance of the funds, which was about $480,000, to use for their own purposes, and they've agreed to give the village state funds in return. And since the project's still on hold pending further development, at the request of the village, IDOT has agreed to reimburse the village for engineering funds expended to date for the building of the Logistics Center design funds. It's about, the agreement you have is for 167. I think we spent about 140. So these new agreements will allow the local agency agreement, the village to get reimbursed with state funds so you can reimburse your TIF accounts.
So, which is good news again. The village chose to, I think, what was back in 2006, 2007, to go ahead and use the TIF account, TIF funds to do all the work. Now we're getting reimbursed through this 2014. Finally getting reimbursed for the funds that we were able to spend. So now, as a crowd, this will be on the agenda to approve next Tuesday night. I think the town of Baxter for all the work they've done, especially getting all this. There's a lot of going before IDOT and getting approvals and putting all this stuff together and looking at how much money we spent. So appreciate everything
Oh, he was asking what the reimbursement would be to the village. About $140. That's been expended. And there's still money in the agreement to continue with the project in the situation where, and we met with the developer in January. They're very interested in the whole process on the site.
That's a good meeting. All right, thank you very much. Just so the board knows, that next week there's going to be a special meeting also, next Tuesday. And we have, of course, right now we're thinking of an executive session next Tuesday night. There's also going to be a special meeting for the CDBG grant funding and what we're applying for next year. So hoping to have all that prepared, ready for tonight, but we don't have anything. We're still working on a couple last things, but everything will be that special meeting next Tuesday. Discuss that. I would say so. Let's start at 6. So keep the special meeting. All right, go to public comment. All questions and comments must be directed to the mayor. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to comment on a topic of their choice. Each speaker will be allowed 1 opportunity to speak.
Hello, I'm Brandon Hopkins. My first question is on the fines and fees, the red box. What amount are you talking about, and how does that work? Also, I'd like to know what you mean about the fleet tax. How does that work? What fleets are you speaking of here in the village? And the fifth, for number 5, does the reimbursement that he was speaking of, does it go to Robertson Engineering, or does it go to the village? And those are the questions.
All right. The fleet ordinance, the red box ordinance, all of us was presented to the board for the ordinance review committee, so there'll be another meeting where we discuss everything. It's kind of premature to talk about, I mean, if you want to talk about red box, it's where, most of your vending machines have to have like a license tag on them. It's looking at, what's that should be charged by other communities. Again, that goes for the ordinance review committee. Those will be discussed in another meeting. The fleet, again, it's any company that has a fleet of vehicles. But again, it's a little premature to talk about that. All of us was presented to the board and passed off the ordinance review committee. It may come back totally different than what the board is seeing tonight. It's up to the committee. On the TIF reimbursement, it's a reimbursement for money that we've already spent, and it goes into the TIF fund itself. So, all right. Thank you. Anyone else? Gary, please come forward.
Hi, I'm Javante Nancy. I just have, regarding the fines and fees, do we have a fee for the donation boxes that are popped up all over the place, or a fine as if they don't keep them maintained as far as the donations overflowing or anything of that nature, and exactly where they can pop up at? The books, the clothing, the shoes, those type of donation boxes. And also as cost, not necessarily cost savings initiatives, but maybe, I know different municipalities and states, they usually have a unclaimed property auction, maybe at least once a year, if not every other year. Found bikes, stolen property not recovered, or anything like that. And I know Sauk Village, they probably have not had one at least for the last 7 years. So my question is, where is all of this property? Is it all always claimed, or is it taking up storage somewhere? And if it is stored somewhere, can we use that to, have an auction to create funds and release that storage space for other usage?
All right. Let's talk about donation boxes. I don't think, and we'll share with her in 19K, I don't think there's a license or a fee for donation boxes, and most of the time you'll find out they're sitting on personal property. So let me double check. I don't have all the ordinance for me, and probably Trustee Myers could probably answer it better than I could. I don't remember us having a fee for a donation box. So, again, I only have like a handful with me tonight, but we'll double check on that one. The other thing is the unclaimed property. We were just talking about that probably about a week or so ago with the Public Works Department and the police chief about setting up an auction for those. We're looking at probably this next year after the weather breaks. We do have a storage area. It's held within our Public Works Department. We have a container, if you want to call it, or a trailer that would keep stuff in. You're right. It's been quite a few years since we've had it. So something that we're looking at. No, sorry, not the moment again. All right. Any other questions or comments? Please come forward. We'll move right along.
Judy Gast here. I waited a couple weeks and I don't see a revision on the paperwork regarding the referendum. I was told that the $2 is really not $2. It's supposed to be $1 because we're already paying $1. But the rest of the paperwork says $2. And anybody that lives in Sauk Village knows once that referendum goes through and it says $2, that's what they're going to take from us. So are we going to get a revision on this, or are we all going to vote no? Because it definitely will mean that we're paying the $2 plus $1, which is $3. On a personal level, I feel that everybody sitting there today, when they ran for office, it was not a personal thing. It was, I'm here for the people. And I don't feel that that's being moved forward as far as I see things that I want on a personal level, not listening to the people, not even asking the people. And I think it's an extremely important thing when you're sitting in that seat, that you're not there for yourself. You're there for us. And we're not being heard. I don't feel we're being heard. We're not being heard because you're not telling us things. And tonight I felt that it was a step forward with the new thing that you're putting on the agenda. And it will bring forth some stuff that we are unaware of, but we should be aware of. So, that's all I have to say. But I would like to know about the referendum paper before I move forward.
The referendum is already passed by the board. Again, this is a referendum that increases it by $1 up to $2. So again, it's for the 911. This is a referendum that was brought to this board by the fire chief, who is part of the 911 committee. So based off of the advice of the fire chief and the 911 committee, the village board approved the referendum. The attorneys have reviewed it, and I can assure you that it takes, if you look at the first referendum that was passed in 1990, the first one said $1 up to $1. This one here now says, how many years it's been? 14 years or 20 years, I can't keep up. It says $2. So what it does, it brings it up to the $2, which would be an increase of $1. You know, I did not particularly care for the wording. However, when you have attorneys involved in putting all that legal mumbo jumbo in there, it's the way it was worded. So again, we've got early voting starting, so nothing's going to be changed because I think early voting started Monday. Started Monday. So this ballot is already out there, and early voting has already started.
I just have a comment. You made the statement that the board passed the referendum. No, the board didn't pass it.
They passed the ordinance to put the referendum on the ballot. So.
And the reason for that is the board did it rather than normally you have to go out there and have petitions. I'm pretty sure that Julia didn't know what that means. to have something put on the agenda, you have to petition. Well, the board can supersede that and have it put on with the consent of the board to have it put on the ballot, the referendum itself. But we didn't pass the referendum. We just passed to have it put on the ballot. We passed the referendum, that would be something different. But we're not home ruled, first of all, so we have to put it out. We put it out there to have it put on the ballot. Now, the way the wording is, I haven't seen the ballot. I don't know what the wording, but I understand that you were saying the wording states that it will be a $2 increase. Really, it's really a $1 increase to $2. But if it says $2 increase, then I can understand what you're saying. But I haven't had a chance to see one of the ballots to see that. It just says $1 increase, or it says $2?
It says an increase, what's that? Yeah, an increase to $2 or something like that.
$2, T-O, $2. Okay.
Well, just in reference to this guest question, I did speak with Chief Stockbreaker yesterday and asked for clarification. And it did go out on the email blast. It should be on the website tonight, and it will be posted in the hallways tomorrow. This was a conversation he and I just had yesterday to try to make it more clear to the residents that it's not a $2 increase, it's an increase of $1, quoting the ordinances that the mayor just spoke about. The ordinance in 1990 was the first ordinance that charged the $1. The 911 fee has not been increased since 1990. And this was per Chief Stockbreaker's request. So that will be posted in the hallway tomorrow, will be available in the library tomorrow. It's already gone out on the email blast late last night. Hopefully it's on the website. If not, I'll make sure Gerald posts it there tomorrow. But we are trying to make it as clear as possible that it is not a $2 increase. Chief Stockbreaker requested a $1 increase in addition to the original fee of $1 from the ordinance in 1990. If there's anybody else has any questions about that ordinance, I would be more than happy to speak with you or refer you to the attorneys. But what you're saying, Ms. Cass, cannot be changed because that's already been voted on and approved by the board and is already on a ballot. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to explain. Any questions, any answers from you?
And thank you, Trustee, for catching that, because we didn't pass the referendum, correct? We passed the ordinance to put it on for referendum. Put on the other day.
And the attorney wrote that notice up.
It's not worded clearly. The mayor said it, the trustees have said it, we all agree, the fire chief has said it. It's worded very poorly. This is word of mouth that's going to have to get out, that we need to make sure everybody understands it's a $1 increase.
My point is this one, right, Ms. Cass is correct, but it's worded. It did not come through the board before, not the attorney took it.
Yes, sir.
We wrote it up, and then they said that legal-wise, this is how it has to be written.
That's what the attorneys brought to the board. The legal way that it has to be written, so residents know the total amount of what they're going to be charged. It's not as clear as it could be, but it's the way it legally had to be stated so the residents knew what the charge was going to be.
Mr. Griffin.
I'm Nathan Griffin from 22317 Brookwood. I have a couple of comments that I would like to say. First of all, I want to give God the honor. Next, I would like to give our mayor, the board, and above all, the clerk. Now, I'm going to point out about the clerk last, but I'm going to try to say this real quick. I just want to say that I truly appreciated the honor that you bestowed upon me last week. I think it was a wonderful thing. Not only for me, but I think it was a wonderful thing for African Americans, because this was the first time, as I can remember in the village, that this ever happened. So this was a first, and I think it was one of the greatest things that could happen. Next, I want to say, I think it was quite a few people, you don't know what you really miss about the diversity dinner. That was one of the most astounding dinner and gathering that we could have in the village. It is one way to get us all together, and I think that is one of the most wonderful things. Try to get the village together. we all have a job in the village, regardless of how you look at things. And I think if we come together, we sit down, we talk our differences out, we can get something done. And I just want to say, I'm thankful for having this opportunity. Thank you.
No one else? Move to miscellaneous business and comments from trustees. Start with, Trustee Burton, did you have time? No. Happy? All right, Trustee Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that I have flyers back there in the summer programs. If I can fill them out and turn them in, I really would appreciate it. I also put a new flyer back there where we will respond now. We'll have a special food drive March 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. for anybody who needs food. This is open to all residents of Cook County, not just the village, but all residents of Cook County. So the flyer's back there. If you have any questions, you can see me or give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to announce, I don't have the flyers back there yet, but on March 27th, here at the Municipal Center, between 10 and 1 p.m., the Democratic women of the South Suburbs are putting on Get Covered America. It's another enrollment workshop. A lot of the state reps and senators, and this municipality included, has put this on, but this is something else. So please pass this along to your friends and neighbors. It is March 22nd, 22nd, between 10 and 1 here at the Town Hall. I have something here not pertaining to Sauk Village, but the first annual Chicago Heights Park District is putting on a run for the troops home and away, beginning on Saturday, the 31st of May. It starts at 8 o'clock. It begins at the Recreational Center, and the address is 1400 Chicago Road in Chicago Heights. It is a 5K run. It is $25, and it says here all proceeds will be donated to the Chicago Heights Park District, USO of Illinois, and the Chicago Heights Lions Club. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one reminder that our meetings have changed from on Thursdays to the second Monday of every month, and we will be having our neighborhood watch at 7 o'clock this coming Monday at the fire station. I just also want to say that my committee, along with myself, we've been working very hard to expand the neighborhood watch based on some concerns that residents have had. We have been expanding in regard to our No Texting While Driving campaign, along with our No Bullying campaign. So I will give more details in my report on next Tuesday. But I do want to remind everyone, if you want to be a part of our video that we're going to be making, there are flyers in the back that will give you more information. And I want to invite everyone to come Monday to our neighborhood watch meeting at the fire station. And that concludes my report.
Just one thing, Debbie, how much notice do I need to call emergency meeting for my committee? Is it 48 hours or 24? Okay, I will give you a call tomorrow when we get that up. I'm gonna probably have to go on Friday because I'm in class and always. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just kind of report on last Tuesday night, there was representatives from Wayne Steel. Wayne Steel has been in Sauk Village since about 1899, and they've always had an agreement to run their trucks from Wayne Steel going across the railroad tracks into Ford Motor Company. Last week, earlier, they were pulled over by Cook County sheriffs. They were fined heavily for overweight trucks. And as everyone remembers, that used to be a state road. They had agreement with the state, and now county was that road. If you remember, state and county switched roads. state took over Torrance Avenue, county took over Cottage Grove. I met with them on Tuesday night. On Tuesday night after the board meeting, I started sending emails out looking for help to resolve this. I'll tell you how grave a situation this was. Their first ticket they received was for over $22,000. Just one ticket. Wayne Steel and Set Steel has approximately 166 workers, employees at that location. They were pretty much shut down. They tried for a couple of days after receiving the first tickets to put trucks on the road that met the weight limit. However, they ended up shutting 4 of them because they could not supply them. I would just like to make it public. I personally think Executive Director Ed Hazel from South Florida Mayors and Managers. I personally thank Commissioner John Yonan from the Department of Transportation and Highways. Last Tuesday night I was here, however, not too many people knew that I was on the road last Wednesday and Thursday traveling for work. I spent most of my time traveling on the phone between Cook County Highways, between South Florida Mayors and Managers, between Wayne Steel, find out exactly what we can do. By Thursday morning, I believe it was, Cook County had issued them the permits that they needed so they could start to supply and forward work on the event. So by Thursday morning, they had the permits. So this was a major situation that, you know, if Wayne Steel did not have those permits, they would have lost jobs. They would have lost the jobs that they do for Ford, and Ford would have went other places looking for people. So putting a letter out from the mayor's office thanking those people, I've already emailed the individuals involved, thanking them for their support. Again, think about since 1997, they've been doing this, and all of a sudden, the county sheriff's office shut them down. So this was a lot of work on behalf of everyone to make sure that we did not lose a major company in our village. So just want to make sure that we're moving about that. After that said, I got a prepared statement. Again, I don't usually respond to this stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and read this. This last week, I received a number of calls, messages, and people. Not picking me up. How's this? This last week, I received a number of calls, messages, and people stopping by, asking what I'm going to do about what's being posted on Facebook. First, let me say, I don't make my decisions or take advice from Facebook. I'm not friends with those who have chosen to negatively attack our community, and especially those who attack that no longer live in Sauk Village. It would seem that some would think that I need to be aware of these attacks and I should respond. I have not responded to the petty, insignificant attacks in the past, and not sure why others would think that I should now. However, tonight I will give my opinion. These individuals who constantly attack Sauk Village are small-minded cowards. They are little people looking for attention while hiding behind a computer screen in the corner of their house not located in Sauk Village. They are no different than a child who breaks a window and hides in a garage so not to be found by their parents or authorities. They are no different than an immature troublemaker that breaks into an office in the dark of night to falsify documents. They have no proof of what they post. They make up stories to stir up the pot and speculate on what they would do if they were in this seat, with hopes that someday they will be able to say, "I told you so," or hopes that just one of their posts are correct. These individuals feel that Sauk Village can only change if people do and like only what they say and post. They are doing exactly what they criticized the previous administration for doing, and that was for spreading doubt and fear for personal gain. These individuals are nothing more than what our grandparents would have called our gainsayers. These individuals are bitter, and not just at this administration, but also at the residents for their choice in the last election, and in an election quite a few years back. They are determined to destroy this community and not help. They have no love for Sauk Village, only hatred. They have abandoned our community in hatred and work to destroy anything positive through doubt and fear. Someone who truly loves something will do what they can to help, not tear down. They are the one with the helping hand when you are down, and are willing to provide help and look for plans to better your future. These individuals are not in this seat. and I assure you, they do not influence the decisions made. Remember, they didn't do anything productive when they lived in Sauk Village and stirred up trouble back then. What makes you think they are any different some 20 plus years later? If they wanted to be part of the solution, they would bring ideas to the table for discussion. Don't let someone who is constantly pointing to past administrations, never looking to the future, or willing to help our community place doubt on the decisions to move this village forward. We have come a long way in the last year, however. We still have a ways to go. I love Sauk Village, and this has been my home for over 40 years. Don't let the little things get to you. If you find what you're reading bothers you, do as I. Stop reading it. Trust me, you'll feel a whole lot better. You'll also stop giving the little weak-minded people the attention they strive for, and this is my opinion.